Hey guys, Dr. Davenlin, board certified laser dermatologist. Today we'll be talking about sunscreens, in particular one brand from La Roche-Posay. So first of all, I've got no conflict of interest. This is not a paid video, and by all means, I do not work for the company. I think that it's an excellent choice because La Roche actually makes really good products, but their range of Enthelios, which encompasses realistically probably a dozen types of sunscreens, will vary both in the labeling and also the consistency. So remember, sunscreens only measure UVB. UVB is burn time. So for example, what does an SPF mean? An SPF of 2 means you can hang out in the sun for double the time without getting burnt, yeah? And SPF of 4 means you can be in the sun for 4 minutes compared to 1 minute if that's your burn time, and so on and so on. Now, where it gets really tricky is, well, I guess what companies don't tell you is that an SPF of 30 compared to an SPF of 50 only gives you 1% extra coverage. But remember, the SPF is only a factor which measures your burn time. It doesn't measure UVA, but UVB only. So, as I mentioned, with a UV rating of something like 30, 96% of UVB rays are actually attenuated, while an SPF of 50 gives you 97% attenuation. So we're only looking at 1% difference, but we're almost doubling the SPF factor. So what I say to all patients is this: realistically, an SPF of 30 will be enough, right? So unless you have I guess a photodermatosis or sun allergies or basically medical conditions, you don't need to actually spend that extra to get SPF 50. What sunscreens don't label is actually the UVA, and the UVA, as you guys know, penetrates deeper compared to UVB. So UVA causes photoaging. It's the one that actually breaks down your collagen and elastin in the dermal layer. So UVB, you can think of it as more superficial, and that's burn time. UVA goes deep into your skin, and UVA is the harmful one when it comes to cosmetics as well. So UVA breaks down your collagen, your elastin, your hyaluronic acid, and it accounts for the majority of photoaging. So when you're looking for a sunscreen, make sure it's broad spectrum, acknowledging the fact that even the best sunscreens won't protect you from long wave UVA, and hence why dermatologists would recommend hats, umbrellas, and shade, yeah, and sunscreen just as adjunctive treatment. The other thing with sunscreens as well is that the majority of patients don't really know how much to apply, and the guideline is this: most dermatologists agree, it's basically 5 grams for your face and neck. Yeah? So 5 grams is basically a teaspoon, and it should be applied twice a day. I know some dermatologists say every 2 to 4 hours. To me, that's maybe a bit of an overkill because from a practicality point of view, patients are going to apply this sunscreen 6 to 8 times a day. So I think twice a day is enough, yeah, in the morning and about midday. So guys, let's talk about La Roche-Posay and why I think this is a good sunscreen. So in different countries, LRP is marketed differently. It's both due to FDA, TGA regulations, CE regulations in Europe. So the brand name itself encompasses, like I said, a variety of sunscreens, yeah? So one of the chemicals they use is called methoxydibenzyl methane, yeah? And that is what is the active ingredient. So it's not a physical blocker, but it's actually a chemical blocker. And that is the one that's most widely used in Australia. In the US, however, you do have Enthelios that's marketed slightly differently because the majority of Enthelios contains both, I guess, physical sunscreens like titanium dioxide, 11%, and some other brands of Enthelios with sensitive skin contain the more traditional chemical blockers, including cinemates, salicylates, and avobenzone. So once again, it's not really a review on the individual products. It's just a review on the brand name itself. So I wouldn't get too carried away with, I guess, selecting what is the best sunscreen. What you have to do is actually select which is the one that you like to use, because I think it's really academic when you're using physical blockers or chemical blockers. Sure, if you have a chemical sensitivity, that's super rare, yeah, but by all means, a chemical blocker is not, I guess, does not adversely affect most people. So I wouldn't be too hung up about that. Certainly if you want to read the products and read the ingredients in the country you're at, that's okay. So just remember, physical sunscreens are the ones that contain dioxide of metal, which is basically zinc oxide, titanium dioxide in small particles, nanoparticles. While the chemical sunscreens do take longer to work, because the chemical sunscreens need to be absorbed into your epidermis. So most dermatologists say, look, apply the sunscreen at least 10 to 20 minutes prior to sun exposure. Well, a physical sunscreen, because it lays a barrier on the top part of your skin and reflects light, works almost immediately. Okay. Now, I hope that gives you a great idea or some understanding on sunscreens. And like I said, don't be too hard on the SPF factor, and also with whether it be physical or chemical blockers, just get the sunscreen on. That's the most important thing. So now to give this brand, I guess, Anthelios a DAV score. So first of all, the skin science. You can't argue the fact that sunscreens actually protect you from harmful rays. So that's a 5 out of 5, based upon the pure science of the product and the, I guess, ingredients they use in the sunscreen. So it's a solid 5 out of 5. Number 2, ease of use. Sunscreens are super easy to use. No matter what brand, yes, you actually just squirt it on. Remember, like I said, chemical sunscreens, what you want to do is apply that on 15-20 minutes before. Physical sunscreens, just before going out. So the ease of use is there. So it's a 5 out of 5, So remember, sunscreen should be the actual foundation of all treatments, So anything about skincare, first thing most dermatologists actually will go on about is the use of sunscreen, both adequately and in the right manner. Let's talk about compatibility with other products. And for sunscreens, they're super compatible with other products, So I'd give it a 5 out of 5. Now, where some patients actually say, look, I've got sensitive skin, sure, if you have things like rosacea or dermatitis, or if you use your products incorrectly, for example, high-strength vitamin A combined with things like glycolic acid, you may find a sunscreen is more sensitive to your skin. What we do then is basically to say, look, why don't you prioritize sunscreen first and all the active cosmeceuticals later, So sunscreens is basically compatible with any skin product, So remember, if you have skin sensitivities, you can buy La Roche-Posay, even in Australia, that's for sensitive skin. So remember, if you have sensitive skin, just use physical rather than chemical blockers. Okay, so number 4 is the subjective feel of how the sunscreen is. With that, I'll give it a 5 out of 5. The reason being is that this is personally, like, once again, there's no conflict of interest, but this is my sunscreen of choice. This is the sunscreen of choice which my family uses. The reason being is because it's very cosmetically elegant. It feels very light. The other thing as well, it comes as a matte color as well, so it actually works well for good coverage without that sheen. And in fact, they even make a particular sunscreen for not only sensitive skin but for oily skin as well, to give you more of a matte finish. So it's really easy to use, and it's good. Okay, the next thing we talk about is packaging. Yes, some people get hung up about packaging. I think packaging is just fine, I'll give it a 5 out of 5, and I'll tell you why. Number 1, it's clearly labeled. The only thing I would go on about is, at my age, I need glasses to read the products. But look, at the end of the day, the packaging is fine. The other thing as well, which I like with this compared to, let's say, a pump pack, is that you can squeeze this, basically a tube or even the pump pack, almost all the way out. So for sunscreens which are big, with big pump packs, you're probably wasting about 5 to 7% of the product. So packaging for me, no problem, 5 out of 5. Now, at the end of the day, the 6th one is actually the price. So far I've given this particular sunscreen top marks for everything, but where I think it's going to fall down is actually the price. In the US, a 50 ml pack is going to cost you 33, so the RRP, recommended retail price, is $33 for 50 mils. In Australia, it's slightly cheaper. It's actually, in fact, it's a lot cheaper. In Australia, it's only $20 US dollars, so it's about $30 Australian dollars. So still, if you talk about pricing and how much product they give you, let's say if we work in US dollars for $33 per 50 mils. Remember, you're applying 5 mil application, so 5 mils twice a day. So in reality, that's 10 mils you should be applying, right? So if you divide that into the package price, one bottle, should only last you 5 days. So that's a hell of a lot to pay for the sunscreen. But at the end of the day, if you're going to be spending money, buy a good sunscreen, okay? So most people don't use 5 mils, that's a caveat. But surely, if you do, remember, it'll only last you 5 days. Guys, I hope that summarizes sunscreens, especially with this Anthelios range from La Roche-Posay. as always, you know, if I can go on and on about how to actually look after your skin, dermatologists always say, you know, sunscreens first and then everything else last. So if you're going to buy anything, this one really is a no-brainer. Yeah, so it receives a 27 out of 30 with the DAB score, with the only exception with the actual full score is the price of the product. Guys, I hope you liked that video. Please comment, share, like, subscribe, and do all the good things that make this channel grow. I'll see you same time, same place next week. Bye for now.